Hi everybody, and welcome to our show from This Corner TV, and I'm Marilyn Dayton, your host and producer, and as always I say, get out that pen and paper because you're going to want to write a few things down today. We're going to be talking about acupuncture and Chinese Oriental medicine, which is why we have some herb samples here. So what I want to do is I want to remind you that we're here for several reasons. We're here to educate you, we're here to talk about things that interest you, and we're also here to throw in a little bit of entertainment from time to time, like we did the last show, which was kind of interesting. So what we're going to talk about is we have Megan Margot here today, who's the founder and director of the Stonington Natural Health Center. Now, I was reading her background, and I was going, oh, really? Okay, so Megan became interested in acupuncture due to her background in psychobiology and the mind-body connection. Very interesting. Now, she earned her bachelor's degree in neuroscience from the prestigious Bowdoin College, and she brings her healing expertise to us from the distinguished Oregon College of Oriental Medicine, where after 4 years of training and internship, she received a master's in acupuncture and Oriental medicine. Does it sound like she knows her stuff? Yeah, I think so. Now, what Megan did was she started a center, which is called the Stonington Natural Health Center, and that was 10 years ago.
Yes.
So happy anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, it's my pleasure. I've known you for a few years.
Yeah.
And I've been to your open houses and had the samples in my ear, and it's very interesting. For instance, one time one of the needles just popped out on its own, which meant something, which you told me at the time. But I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here. So you've got quite a background here in some scientific studies.
Yes, I was pre-med. I was a biology major and then switched to psychobiology and neuroscience. I worked in hospitals, I watched surgeries, I was planning on going that route, and along the way I took a detour into the mind-body connection because it resonated with me more.
Now, so you were studying Western medicine.
Yes.
And I know several people that have started in that direction and then turned around and said, there's more to it than that. I mean, that's important. Yeah. It's not that we're discounting that.
No, and we work well together also.
Together, yes. What do they call it?
Collaborating.
And complementary medicine.
Yes.
So you decided to investigate the mind-body connection, and then what did you decide to do?
So one of the big shifts I did was studying in India my junior fall. That's where I really learned about medicinal plants and medicinal herbs, and really about the mind-body connection, because they're always about your thoughts create your everything. And then I kept going pre-med along the way, and then another shift happened where I ended up deciding to go into emergency medicine. I got a wilderness EMT up at Solo in Conway, New Hampshire, and ended up being a full-time ski patroller. And that's what brought me out west. I had ski patrolled up in Maine at Sunday River. I went out west planning on ski patrolling at Mount Hood, and fell in love with Portland, Oregon. Within 3 months, I was in the acupuncture school. I had found out about the different, back then we said alternative medicine, now we say holistic medicine, because for most people it's not an alternative, they're just incorporating it into their life now. And of all the different holistic medicines, acupuncture fit the way that with the mind-body connection, the neuroscience, the points jumping a little bit ahead, the points are like buttons that reprogram the body, and without having to do, without having to do too much, I guess you could say, a point can change something like that for someone, make a headache go away, get stress to go away. So I love it.
Well, I love it too because I have seen people who have had huge results, and they've had results from a combination, actually, of acupuncture, maybe a little bit of chiropractic help, and then getting into the Chinese herbs, which we're going to get into a little bit later.
Yes.
And that combination can be kind of magical. It really can.
Definitely. Yeah.
Now, I smiled when she talked about skiing because we're friends on Facebook too, as well as acquaintances in our business circles and friends too, because we see each other here and there. Yeah. Because on your Facebook page, you and your boys, you go skiing, and it's like, there they are, right out there in the cold with their smiles on your face. You still love it, don't you?
I do. It really, it's my passion. It's skiing and snowboarding. So. And
the boys too,
yeah,
right?
This winter my little guys really got into it. My oldest, he's already years ahead, but this year was the year. Starting on the bunny slopes and just learning that if you fall down, you get back up and you just keep going, and they had fun.
Well, your little guy, he's so cute because he was on our front porch a few weeks ago, and he goes diving off, as a typical boy, adventurous soul. And so, I can see how he would, he gets right back up and goes back. So I can see how he would be, really good on those bunny slopes. So, okay, so let's pick up where you were. You were in Oregon, and you were studying acupuncture.
Yep.
And you went to India. That must have been fascinating.
That was fascinating. Yeah, my purpose was to study Ayurvedic medicine. In the whole time of being there, you just get all these things about foods. That was my first really introduction to this. You have this going on, eat this food. You have this going on, eat this food, because it's so embedded in their culture. You have something going on, you do this, and it's revolves around sometimes even going to one of the temples, like go to to that temple there, that will help you. And it was really fascinating.
I bet it was. I'm trying to think of the name of the movie with Julia Roberts. It was based on the book, and she went to India as part of her.
Was it Eat, Pray, Love?
Yes, Eat, Pray, Love. Exactly. Thank you. I had a little mental
I actually
burp
never
there.
saw the movie.
Never saw the movie? You read, but did you read the book?
No, everyone says I need
goodness. Okay, got to do that because inside each and every one of us, and I'm not a promoter of books and movies generally, but I relate it because we all go through phases in our lives, and sometimes we have a challenge that makes us go, whoa, that meant I took a wrong road here. But now I got to find my way back somehow and discover what I'm supposed to do next. And it can be, it can be kind of challenging and kind of scary. So I read the book. Holly Potter had it. She lent it to me. And I loved the book. And then when the movie came out, I almost didn't see it. Because sometimes you read a book and you say, there's no way they can translate that into a movie very well at all. Well, they did just fine. Yeah. And it's really, you should see it, you should read it, though. You need to read it first.
Okay, I'll read it.
And because, we all go through changes. We all go through stages, and we all have choices that we need to make. So it'd be a good one.
And that's the great thing of the holistic mindset is, reaching out to people to get support when we need it. There's so many different modalities in holistic medicine, and they all work in different ways that all support us so well.
But the thing that I love about India is it's so spiritual there.
Yeah.
And yes, they have quite a few food, you want to call them flavorings, herbs, whatever, that can help fight cancer of different locations and that kind of thing. I had some tea today with one of them, and as a matter of fact...
Was it turmeric?
Yes, it was. You betcha. Yeah,
yum.
I try to have some tea almost every day with some of that in it.
Oh, nice.
Because it fights inflammation, and there are studies, but we won't go into that. But so that must have been fascinating.
It was.
Now, you also are with Oriental and Chinese medicine. Now, does that mean you went to China?
I did go to China, yeah. So they're fascinating traveling to each place. India has such a depth of colors and their culture. It's there, it's rich, the smells, the flavors, the tastes. China is fascinating because there is still their culture. However, in the 1948 or whenever it was that the communists took over, there's also this other thing going on. So you see the cool buildings with the neat arches and the gardens and all of that. But I wish I had seen it pre-communist China, just to say, because some of it is just structures of people living in them, and so, like, in terms of a depth of culture, you really feel that in India. In China, you feel it, but there's this other part there that, just for a comparison.
Politics, unfortunately, and whether it's the Japanese attacking China or another entity attacking China.
Yeah.
It's, their culture is still there.
It's still there.
But it's not as readily noticeable. You have to
And I think part of what allows it to really keep flourishing is tourism. It has to be there for tourists to want to visit, as well as there's a big green movement in China because of the demand, because with the herbs, we want them to be organic. So they are organically growing the herbs because of our demand for that, and so that's good.
Yes, it is. Now the Chinese medicine that goes back 4,000 years,
Yeah.
and acupuncture goes back centuries too. I mean, they knew all of this back then, and we're a little stubborn here in the West, and the East Coast is a little bit more stubborn than the West Coast, but we're not going to talk about that too much. But we're stubborn overall. And we like to think that we know it all, and we like to think that our way is the right way, and it may not be. Or it may be a combination. And we have to be aware that this holistic movement and it is a movement, that we have to be aware that this needs to be pulled into even if there's nothing wrong. Even if there's nothing wrong and you have no symptoms,
that's the best time
they can come and see you.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like thermography, okay? Getting and I've talked about thermography on the show before, and it can pick up something years before the symptoms show.
Yeah.
And you may be feeling fine, terrific, top of your game, lucky you. But going to someone like you, okay, and having you, because there's a lot more than just sticking a needle in, right? Don't you have to ask questions and kind of isn't there some intuitiveness that's involved in this a little bit? How does that work?
So in doing the intake, the health history, I find out, all the Western questions, health, surgeries, times in hospitals, medications, the whole history. With Chinese medicine, we even preferably go back to how is your mother's pregnancy of you, how is your birth, those things even set up the Jing is what we call it, the prenatal Jing, and the energy that you come into the world with. Even going back even to further you could go, but then how was your childhood? What kinds of things did you go through? And then the intuition too, smells, colors We look at the tongue. There's certain things I just pick up now that I don't even think about.
Because you've been doing it for so long.
Yeah, 15 years now, since 2000. So the sound of their voice, the different intonations tell me things about the person. It's really pretty fascinating for what the energy in their body is doing. Those show up. They emanate out of someone. Yeah.
And the thing is, you've got this pre-med background and training. You've got the Indian, from India, spiritual and all of the elements from there, and you've got the Chinese influence. So it's really quite amazing that all of this comes together so that you just know. You can feel it here. It's kind of a kinetic energy that you pick up on with the information, what you see, what you hear, what you smell. Everything kind of comes into play, and you just kind of go, well, now. Right?
Yeah, as well as just my own, spiritual beliefs and helping people be right in the middle of the present moment. When people keep going back to the past or worrying about the future, like bringing them back to here. Like, this is the moment we can make change in, so let's do it.
So many people, they say, well, yes, I want help now, or I want to find out if I am okay. But they don't realize that the past, even before they're born, affects it. Now, you've studied fertility.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So that became a passion of mine. There are certain things I didn't know when I started school, what I was going to end up being passionate about. Fertility, for me, became a passion because I had some fertility issues. So, when it goes on personally, you dive in even deeper because you want to find out, why is this happening to me? So I did advanced fertility training in Boston with an acupuncturist, Lynn Swerda, who she herself has a background deeply in biochemistry and working in hospitals. So there was the depth of the Western as well as the Chinese medicine. That was a whole winter of studying with her. And then when I studied in China, again, just like wanting the depth of the knowledge of the herbs to help myself and others with fertility, because by my figuring myself out, I now can help other people with fertility. Fertility is fun because there's an end product that you get to see a baby.
That always helps.
And I was, it's a fascinating thing because when pain goes away, like the person feels really good and you can see the smile on their face. But with fertility, when you see a baby, like that's just really fun. So fertility has so many aspects to it. Stress is one of the biggest factors. It sounds so cliche, but really helping with the stress relief. Stress messes up the hormones, and the hormones are the communicators in the body. So working on getting people into a deeply relaxed state so that their body can know that it has enough energy to be able to hold a baby. That's one aspect. And then working in conjunction with Western medicine too, because sometimes there are other things going on that not just the acupuncture and herbs can handle. So it's really fun. I love it.
It sounds very fulfilling.
Yes, it is.
And it's very hard to relax when you want a baby.
Yes.
And I was told I couldn't have any. I had a couple. Yeah. Surprise.
And like one thing with fertility that I see is sometimes, every once in a while a patient won't want to do the protocol I give them, and that's frustrating because I'm like, I just know if you did it, we could do this. But they, can kind of get, I don't know, they can fall away
kind
from
of sidetracked a little bit. Or?
But it's a really set protocol that I figured out, and it really works. So
listen to her, okay? All you ladies out there that have some fertility issues, go see Megan. but listen to her.
Thank you. And I've helped women in their 20s. I mean, it's fascinating. There's no age with this. It can be 20s, 30s, 40s. I've helped women, though, all of those ages. Sometimes women in their 20s, they're almost the most embarrassed about it. I'm in my 20s. Why am I having problems with this?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I know several people that have had fertility issues through the years. And it can be anything from a hormone that you're low, you have a low amount of that hormone in your body, or it could be some medicine you're on for an allergy that's actually blocking the activity that's necessary. And so you really have to dig and hope that they tell you, you say, if you really want help with this, you need to tell me everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's
setting up a whole environment for the conception to happen and then to hold the pregnancy. And then I go all the way through the pregnancy with the woman. And then we can help to have an on-time birth. And then for the woman to have energy once the baby comes. That's very important too.
That's kind of important. Yes, it is. Oh, yeah.
Lactation also, people don't think of that. Acupuncture helps amazingly with the letdown and the absorption of nutrients from food so that you can make good breast milk. I've used that quite a bit myself with the acupuncture. So.
Okay, I've always wanted to ask this of someone that does acupuncture. Do you do it yourself? I mean, how can you do that?
Not really, no.
No?
I've met some acupuncturists that do. When I was in school, my teachers actually said, you need someone to do it to you. It's like getting a massage. You can give yourself a neck massage, but it sure feels good when you can relax and have someone else do it for you.
It would be more effective to have somebody else do it.
Yeah, the energy of someone else, the outside view, looking in. I mean, every once in a while, there'll just be like one point, I'm like, okay, I know I need this point to like get like a headache to go away or something, but in general, no.
Okay, I was always wanted to ask that. Let's talk about the different types of acupuncture. Now, people say, oh, acupuncture, it is. Acupuncture, right? It's not that simple, right?
Yeah, I never knew that before acupuncture school, that there are many different styles. Traditional Chinese medicine is the usual style that is taught, and that's the style that I actually did my first 5 years in practice. It's a very good basis. It gives you a good foundation. You learn what each point does. Often you're doing trigger point of muscles to get those muscles to release. But then along the years, what I've found is that, I guess it was 5 years into practice, I studied with Dr. Richard Tan of San Diego, and it just blew the roof off my practice of what can be accomplished. The balance method, he dug it out of the ancient texts. He would like, acupuncturists the whole world over to learn it because it works so well. And it's a system that is like, instead of just going to unscrew the light bulb to turn the light bulb off, you actually go over the switch and turn it off over there. So it reprograms that way. So instead of putting a point in the place of pain, you do the place that will tell that pain to go away or tell that muscle to let go. And I love it because, for example, someone has shoulder pain, I'll do some points perhaps here that correlate with exactly where the spots are there. And right in the treatment, they can move around. If there were points in there, they wouldn't be able to do that. But they can, and we just keep getting the pain to come down until we get exactly the right switch to turn off the pain over there.
That's amazing. It makes me think of things like reflexology. Your whether it's your hand or your feet, there's those points that do affect other places in your body.
Exactly.
So this doctor, how do you pronounce it?
Tan.
Tan. It's Tan.
Yes.
And it sounds like he's got an Oriental mix to his blood.
Yeah, he grew up in Taiwan. His parents were both acupuncturists. He has a really neat background. He grew up with the acupuncture. He grew up with the herbs. He's a genius. He's just brilliant. And he decided he was going to do something else, as most kids do. And he went on to be an engineer. He became an electrical engineer for the aeronautical industry. He did that for a while, then he was like, I'm bored. I want to be an acupuncturist. So he went back to being, he went to school in California. He was living in the U.S. at this point. And the TCM method was, he wanted to know why. Why did the points do what they did? And he dove back into the ancient texts, and he figured it all out, this whole system of how the body is mapped. So his electrical engineering mind looked at the channels of energy as electrical circuits, and he figured it all out.
That is amazing. And it's also, we're going to take a little break here for a couple of minutes. And when we come back, we're going to pick up where we left off, and we're also going to get more into the Chinese and Oriental herb. Okay, so hang in there and keep that pencil and pen and paper handy, because we'll be right back.
Can you help me with this? My new dad teaches me all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
He helps me with homework.
That would be 3.6795.
Thanks.
Yep.
He helps me with my decision making.
I wouldn't use this one. Ever.
And he's even teaching me how to drive.
And that's why cars have bumpers.
I'm learning so much.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are. When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Up, college is hard. Down, those books are heavy.
My sport is football, but my passion is education.
Right up here.
So every year I take promising high schoolers on a college tour
Lights there, darts there.
to show them that higher education means a brighter future. My name is Nnamdi Asamoah. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
You can be a reader, tutor, or mentor too. Take the pledge at liveunited.org/volunteer.
Do you wear this?
And welcome back. Our guest on From This Corner TV today is Margot, who's a doctor of acupuncture, and she's also a specialist in the Oriental herb treatment, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But before we left off, we talked about this doctor that kind of took his electrical engineering knowledge and his family that did acupuncture and what he learned when he was young, and put it all together and made it a whole new way of looking at acupuncture and how it works. And it sounded fascinating. You got a pain over here and you do something here.
Yes, so it's this whole system based on how the channels balance each other. So specific channels will then go to another specific channel and change the signal there.
Is that what these show?
So
we have a couple here who have joined us, and there's all these lines and points, what you might call buttons, sort of, right?
Yeah, so the channels are the main flows of energy in the body, and they're called channels, pathways, or meridians. And the energy flows through every cell of the body. These are the main channels, the main ways that they flow. They correlate with grooves in between muscles. Mm-hmm. So it's just the path of least resistance is what they flow through. And the different points are places where the energy, like water, kind of eddies because it gets to a joint and then it kind of eddies there and gets to the next joint and eddies there. And so by doing acupressure or acupuncture at one of these points, they've actually seen that it increases blood flow at specific points inside the brain, which then send a signal down to someplace else in the body.
And what this means is, for instance, somebody with a migraine. A lot of people get migraines.
Yes.
And it can be caused by something else that's going on in the body.
Yeah, it's very true.
Which means maybe you stick a needle back here and it helps up here.
Yeah,
right?
And that's where this whole new awareness happens, where you feel a pain someplace and then you feel it someplace else too, and you press here and then the pain someplace else goes away also. Actually, yeah, I had that the other day. My back was hurting and it was also kind of aching here, and then I kind of focused on this area and then my back pain went away. So, yeah.
But you know, I'm trying to think what they used to call that in Western medicine. Referral pain or something like that. Like if you have a bad disc here, you get the pain down your arm or your leg or something like that. That's the same idea,
similar,
right?
Similar? Yeah, similar. Although like some of these correlations can be really far away and have nothing to do with the nerve itself. It just has to do with just how the body interacts with someplace else.
So it's all communication channels, so to speak, right?
Yes. Yes.
Ah, very cool. So you never know where your pain's really coming from.
Yeah, that's very true.
And if you can't figure it out, you know who to call, right? And she'll tell you. There's so many of these.
Yeah,
and these are just some of them, right?
Some of them,
the main
yeah,
ones.
because there are, extra points. You're right. Yep.
So if you there's even the belly buttons involved.
Yeah, but you would never put a point in there.
I wouldn't.
So
no,
some
I
of these are
wouldn't.
more about location too, because if someone says, I have pain such and such place, then we'll be like, okay, so that spot is stomach 25 where the pain is. Not meaning that we're necessarily going to put a point there, but we're using it as a location, a name of a location.
Okay. And I can't believe how you understand all of this. I mean, I'm looking at this, this point's all over here, okay? And she knows, you know where to go. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have
Lots
that
of
kind
practice.
of...
Lots of practice.
Lots of practice and lots of study.
Yes.
And I'm glad I studied what I did in school. I'd never be able to remember all of this.
I bet you would.
Well, nah. My brother would have been really good at that. So that's really kind of interesting. Now, let's talk about herbs, okay? Because we've been talking about acupuncture, but we can't forget this other element to the healing that you do with people. So tell us about we've got some examples here,
Sure.
but tell us overall what the
Yeah.
whole philosophy and everything is behind the Oriental.
Chinese herbs, yeah. So, some people come in and they want just acupuncture. Some people come in and they want just herbs, but together the synergy is amazing. Herbal medicine has been around, they say hundreds of years. I'm sure thousands of years.
Yeah.
The Chinese Herbal Formulas have been fine-tuned definitely over hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. Long time. They are not experimental. These proportions of the herbs have been played with, tinkered with, and fine-tuned over all of this time. The Chinese have seen pretty much everything. There's an herbal formula for pretty much everything. And the herbal formulas, the way that we describe them, they're like a committee. They're like a team that comes in. So the biochemistry is off in the body. That's why there's something happening that's not what we want to have happening. So the herbs come in, there's certain flavors. They are from certain parts of the plant. By being from certain parts of the plant, they go to a similar place in ourself. The herbs direct themselves to an area. They know to go there, and then there's a certain flavor to energetically be able to shift what is happening in that area right there. That's how I describe it. And so as a committee, the first few herbs in it are the main people that are coming in. They have a job to do. The ones below that are supporting. Some of them help to you to digest the herbs above. And there are a couple underneath that are like, just in case some of you are doing too much, we're going to help to balance. Like if some of the herbs are really hot, there might be a couple of cooling herbs in there just to help counterbalance it. And then there's usually a harmonizer added in too that helps all the herbs to get along well together. The herbs have been cooked up too, so if you look at a formula and you're like, oh, that herb's in it, maybe I'll take that herb. That's not the way they are. They have all been cooked up as a tea so that they have their chemical reactions, and it's the combination of that chemical reaction that creates really what the formula is also.
And how do you take these? Are they like pills, or do you make a tea with them, or?
So traditionally, it's you go home with a bag. It would be a bag that you would cook up into a big brew. When we were in school, we did that. My first few years in practice, I did that. But what has happened over the years is that the Chinese herbal companies have gotten really great with their technology of super concentrating the herbs into tablet form. So it makes it really easy for people to then have the tablets in these formulas so that you can just take a couple, 2 to 4, depending on how strong we want it to be, of the tablets. A person could take the tablets, dissolve it back in hot water, and make the little cup of tea again if they want to. And sometimes people will do that so they can taste it and feel like they're doing that again. So it's like a freeze-dried version of the tea. Without having to do all the cooking and all of that.
Which sometimes we don't want to be bothered doing, we just want to get better.
Yes.
Now, these are made with real plant.
Yes, so they're
they're not artificial, or they're not.
Yeah, nothing synthetic. All Chinese herbs. The companies are really conscientious about being as organic as possible, like we were talking about earlier. They do the testing to make sure that there's the active ingredients. I educate patients on the difference of going to, a regular store, I'll just say, and getting an herb there. A lot of times they haven't been tested to know, is there a lot of active ingredients still in that echinacea? Probably not. That's why it's so cheap. That's why it's, just being sold there. Where when you go to an herbalist, we're going right to the companies that are doing the chromatography testing and making sure it has the active ingredients, because we want them to work. Like that's the whole point, is to get people healthier and happier.
Well, yeah, I would say so. Now, because these are real and they're not synthetic, is there a shorter shelf life, would you say?
Well, they not too short.
Well, that's not too bad. This is, a few years.
Yeah, they're freeze dried. There's actually a good amount of cotton in here. The cotton is a great way to absorb the moisture to keep them going for that many years. The companies often say that they last 10 years, but it's really up to the person if it's past the best buy date on it, the expiration date. If they feel, I often keep them past that because they seem fine to me. It's just required that they put an expiration date on it. But if you felt like they weren't doing that much after the expiration date, you just come back in and get a new bottle of herbs.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about the ones that you brought.
Sure.
This is Hawthorn and fennel.
Yeah, so Hawthorn and fennel are actually in Ayurveda also as digestive herbs. That formula has a combination of herbs that are called fat busters. They actually get lipids to dissolve, and it's a formula that helps people with losing weight. It gets the fat cells to fat bust and dissolve away.
Oh, I like that.
And I've had great testimonials from people taking that formula that they're like, this formula really works.
Thank you very much. I have an extra lump in my shirt. I'm glad I asked about this one.
There's no harm in that. Fennel is often used traditionally after a meal to chew on some fennel. So.
And it doesn't have corn, soy, yeast, or dairy products, which is a good thing. Because it just seems like our bodies are so full of chemicals these days, because that's the world we live in, okay? The Industrial Revolution started this whole thing about, a lot of stuff in the air. There's more metal in things than ever before. And it's really hard to get the nourishment that we need from our food today. And and with all the chemicals, a lot of chemicals in our bodies. So our bodies are fighting all the time. There's a battle going on all the time. And so that's why we've got so many problems today, it would seem, with our bodies being able to work efficiently. They're all out of whack, they're unbalanced, a lot of problems. So if you do have like a tendency to retain fluid, or you've got a weight problem, something like this
would be excellent.
Fat busters.
Yeah. Plus, I didn't bring it, but I carry an all organic plant-based vitamin, and I have a whole line that is for helping with DNA repair to help prevent cancer. It's called Cell Protector. This line is out of Utah, and the formulator is still the owner. He's still there, sourcing what's in that. So come to me for vitamins and minerals.
Exactly.
Okay.
I was just going to say, let's talk about another one.
Okay.
Which one should we talk about here?
So
what about people? We've all got adrenal drain.
Yes.
Okay.
So Heavenly Emperor is a fascinating formula. It is said to have been formulated for an emperor to help him sleep better. So Heavenly Emperor, to help the heavens, to help his brain relax at night. Part of that is the adrenaline going. He's like thinking about this, thinking about that. This gets that to calm, gets the adrenaline to come down, gets the cortisol to go down. This actually, in that way, can help with that indirect type of thing of weight gain too, where at night, if the cortisol is still up, the weight goes on here. So taking 2 to 4 of these at bedtime can actually help with the cortisol weight. But overall, what this really does help with is getting the mind to quiet, get the adrenaline to come down, that second wind. I love this formula. This is a favorite.
Yeah, it would be a favorite of a lot of people, I think, because we've all got so much going on that our brains, and quite a few people take an over-the-counter.
Like the melatonin.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I don't go there because I don't want to mess with the brain
I know.
chemicals. Yeah.
But we're talking about real, natural,
plant-based
combined herbs, okay? We're not talking about artificial, manufactured things that we're putting in our bodies. I don't like to put manufactured things in my body.
Good.
I mean, I don't go out and grab a root and start chewing on it, which is my ancestors, the American Indians, used to do. My grandmother used to talk about that a lot. One of my grandmothers on my father's side was a Seneca Princess.
Oh, wow.
That's where my father said I get all of my, well, anyway, see, there she goes again. Okay. She's ruling the household. Well, it's in my blood, okay. But his mother was descended from, and I think she was the daughter or the granddaughter of the Seneca Princess, and she still knew about all of these herbs and stuff. And my other grandmother was from Ireland, but her family was from Ireland, and would be handed down these things like, oh, there's a certain weed out back that would be good for such and such. She used to make teas for me when I'd, have a headache, or I'd just be tired from school or whatever. And it was just, and it would work, and it would work fast and efficiently. And I wouldn't feel an upset stomach. I wouldn't, because so many things that are not natural, you get a secondary reaction to.
Yes.
And so just personally, I like to stay away from that as much as possible. I mean, I do take medicines because I got stuff going on. But I just, this is just so great.
So,
and
Can I tell you about a couple of others?
Yes,
here?
please do.
So another one that can help some people with sleep is Ardesia. Although it doesn't make you sleepy, this formula calms the mind, but it doesn't make you sleepy. So if someone's stressed, the mind is just thinking about a lot of things, gets that chatter to come down. It naturally has a lot of minerals in it, like there's ground oyster shell in it, for an example, the calcium, magnesium, coming from an actual thing versus just a chemical of calcium and a chemical of magnesium. Again, it can direct itself to the heart, and it's like that bear hug of like everything's gonna be okay. So Ardesia is a favorite. It also lifts the mood. The Ardesia itself does something with the endorphins to make a person happier.
I like that.
Yeah. So I brought some great ones. This is a new one that just came out, Spiro X. The formulator of White Tiger and Seven Forests, he owns the company. That's the great thing with these companies. They are constantly, working on their formulas. This formulator and owner, his name is Subhuti Dharmananda. He has a really cool name, and he's a really brilliant herbalist. And I have known about these herbs for a long time from an article that he wrote. He put it into a tablet form. He always had this article. He said, if someone has Lyme disease, get these herbs. I couldn't find all of the herbs. Now it's in pill form. And these herbs, there are herbs in here that get the biofilm to dissolve away, and the other herbs can get in there to kill the bacteria. So this has been, unfortunately, selling like hotcakes. There's a lot of Lyme disease.
Yes, there is.
So he made one batch. I bought tons of this. I'm sure he's going to be making more batches. He just wanted to see how well it sold. And
it will sell very well in this part of the country, of course. And the problem with Lyme disease, I've had it twice, is that I don't believe it ever really goes away.
I feel like it likes to hide in joints. It likes to hide places. So my goal with people is like, keep taking this, keep like letting these herbs, the herbs won't do any harm. Let them get into those nooks and crannies and try to kill it all out.
Yeah, because some of the medicines I'm on are as a result of, I had a very low blood pressure, very nice, low, steady blood pressure. I figured, oh, great, I never have to worry. Then I got Lyme disease, and I had, it came on very quickly, and it was one of the new ones. This was a couple years ago, and the whole side of my face went, and
it's palsy.
Yes, and it was like, okay, I looked at my daughter one morning, and I said, she says, oh my God.
Oh no.
Yeah. So now, oh my God, I had a stroke or something. Well, what ended up happening was I ended up with very high blood pressure that did not go away.
Oh wow.
I mean high, very high. Okay. And it was like, who is this person? These can't be my readings.
Yeah.
And it did not go away. And it's still, if I don't take my little pill in the morning, I take half in the morning and half at night, it just shoots right back.
So the bacteria went to your heart,
I guess it did. Well, I did get AFib for a few days, okay? And that eventually got better and went away. I've got a very nice, strong heart. So it did, good. You're right, it affected my heart. But this freaking high blood pressure is still around. So what I'm going to do, okay, and you may want to write this down too, is I'm going to go see her.
Yeah, get some Spiro X.
Yes, I'm going to come and say, okay, I need this, and I need this, and I need this, okay? And give these a try and watch myself feel better.
Yeah, it's that chronic Lyme thing that a lot of people come in for acupuncture for, and then I get them on this also so that we can just try to get it to go away.
Yeah, yeah.
One more formula that I brought is total change of subject here.
Yes.
but-
Okay. It's all right.
when we're talking about fertility, Dongguai Peony is the formula that is the fertility formula. It builds blood, it brings nourishment to all the female organs, it helps with balancing hormones. So that's why I brought this one, since I knew we'd be touching on fertility.
Yes, yes. It's amazing, isn't it?
It
that anybody with any kind of a challenge, and we've all got something, could actually, with a combination of acupuncture and Chinese herbs, could feel better. How easy is that? I mean, and you know, if you still have to take some Western medicine, that's fine, that's fine. But you know what? This is natural, people. And the wonderful movement in the country is more and more natural. We're trying to go green in our environment. We're trying to go green inside as much as we can, so that we live longer. We want, I want to hang around to 150, my poor grandkids.
And it's like, and quality of life. That's what people are craving, quality of life. So, you know, being vital and having energy for your grandchildren, and being able to keep playing with them and going to their events.
Absolutely. And I'm doing that now, and I'm 70 and a half, and very proud of it. But you know what? My family history is not really good after 70. So I have to keep that in mind, because that's a part of that questionnaire process.
Yes.
Because our DNA does have little messages in it.
It does. And so this is that kind of brings me to a neat thing about the DNA, is this other concept in holistic medicine is that if this is a part of the DNA that says that something bad is going to happen, because people say, well, it's in my genes, my relatives all had it. Well, stress is what likes to let that open so that the message can start happening. And if we can keep it closed, that's this whole thing that's coming out with the knowledge about DNA. So bringing the person into deep relaxation is what helps to keep those bad DNA sections closed. So that happens.
We can do that?
Yes.
Oh my God.
So the key is that flipping the switch from fight or flight to rest and digest, rest and relax. So through meditation, we always one of the most fascinating things that people notice in acupuncture treatments with me is the deep relaxation. They go into this deep restorative place. They're like, I wasn't expecting that. And I'm like, yay, that's what I was hoping for.
Yes.
Mission accomplished, because that's where the deep, deep healing happens. And I know that happens in holistic medicine with many other types also. And with the acupuncture, so they get in that deep relaxation, the stressed DNA places can close, and then cleanup crews come in. That's what I always get my patients visualizing, is those cleanup crews coming in and doing tissue repair while they're relaxing.
Oh, I love it. And your setting at your office is just wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
It's, there's always this wonderful subtle sound in the background, and the colors that you've got on the walls, and that is just very peaceful. I used to have my my office in the same building, so I'd be going by in the hallway, because the bathroom's across the hall from her, so I was going back and forth a lot, and the kitchen's down the hall. So, but I would just get this, you could feel this peaceful atmosphere just kind of coming out into the hallway,
Thank you.
And it's just really a great spot. It really is. So I can visualize people getting very, very relaxed. And what I want to cover too and touch upon is that you do share your knowledge with people.
Yes.
In many ways. And you've got a talk coming up now. What you do is you kind of space these out over the year, right?
And usually the last Tuesday of every month. That's the trend that we've been doing. The last Tuesday of every month I give a talk, And we've been doing them every year, similar times of year for each talk, because they're just the appropriate times of year to give the talk. Like coming up on school time, I give a talk on memory, focus, concentration, sometimes labeled ADD, ADHD, how acupuncture can help, how non-insertion methods can help. I do a technique called Shonishin from Japan for kids that are not comfortable with the acupuncture, and it works very well also.
Wow.
So, and then we have herbs and other things like probiotics that we do with the kids to help. I've helped kids going into SAT tests or children with stress anxiety, test-taking anxiety for teens. It's very helpful.
It sounds like it would be.
And also with the memory aspect, on the other end of things, with the brain for when people are getting older, we have herbal formulas that help with that, and circulation in the brain, and having the spouse say that they've noticed that their spouse is improved, which some people think, oh, people can't improve, but there is something to circulation in the brain that can improve memory and help reverse things, as best as we can, which is really nice.
I'm looking at this, the 2015, and of course one of them grabs my attention, chocolate.
It's always fun around Valentine's Day to talk about the healing properties of chocolate.
Well, for me it's every day, and I do chocolate meditation and that kind of thing. But this one is chocolate and cardiovascular health. These sound fascinating. Now, they can go to your website, right?
Yes.
And if Spencer can put up the website titles so people can write them down. Thank you so much. And keep those up for a couple of minutes. Those are the best ways to contact Megan. And please, if you've got any questions or anything, she will be wonderful about getting back to you about it. And no matter what the situation is, she can help you, okay? And what I also like to do is I like to finish with a quote. And sometimes it's a little difficult to match up the subject matter and a quote. But I figured, well, I'll go back to Buddha, okay? And what he said, which was, to keep the body in good health is a duty, okay? Think about that. To keep the body in good health is a duty. Otherwise, we shall not be able to keep our mind strong and clear, which is what you were just talking about. It's a challenge today, keeping our mind strong and clear because of all the stuff in our bodies. I have enjoyed this thoroughly. I learned a lot.
Thank you.
And I do have to come and see you and get some of these things, okay? But thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
It was wonderful. And thank you, guys down there. And we will be back again next time with another interesting show for you. So I'm just so glad you could join us. If you've got ideas, feel free to email me. And go to our website. There you go. Okay. And we will see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.